Right, the Reds, it's Talking Reds Fridays, Talking Reds, and I've got Martin Fitzgerald with me today, which I'm delighted to say. It always makes me laugh, so I hope he makes you laugh too. We are, of course, going to be talking about Manchester United this weekend. Jürgen Klopp has just done his press conference. I've got to say, much of it was boring because it was all about football players being able to celebrate during COVID. I really can't be asked to have that chat, Martin. I really can't. So let's talk about the footy instead and not politicians deflecting. He said that Naby is definitely out. He said he looked, I think like everyone else, he's doing this and praying like fuck for Joel to be able to play. He said he still hasn't trained, but he said he could get 2 sessions in before the game. He said, does that mean he'll play? We shall see. He was very cagey about it. He basically said, I don't need to tell you. So you can sort of read into that what you will. But in general, how are you feeling about this, Joel, or not?
Terrified.
Are you?
Yeah. I've not felt like this regarding a football match for ages. Because, you know, last year was such a stroll that there didn't really ever seem like a point when it was kind of like now or never. That never was sort of crystallized within sort of one game, you know, sort of last year. And this just feels like I can't do anything today. There's this big game of like Russian roulette on Sunday afternoon that I'm nervous about. I have to say that. I mean, we have a lot of momentum. And you know, we've been, you know, frankly, in the last few games we've been pretty awful. So I'm not going into it with a huge amount of confidence, and I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I'm going to call my mum after this.
But you know what gives me some heart, Martin, is that is what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer looks like too. So everyone around Manchester United, Gary Neville, etc., seems to be banging this big drum saying we can go and win the league. Rashford in the papers today saying, you know, he wouldn't want to finish second or third. It's all about winning it. You know, that's the right thing, you would say, if he was our striker. So I'm not sure about. He looks very nervous about the whole situation.
I mean, that's the thing that when I've been talking to my mates about that, there's the thing that I cling on to really is that he is not an elite manager, I don't think, right? So they're as likely to lose the next 5 games as they are to win the next 5 games. He will ultimately come unstuck, I think, and he's not on a level of sort of Klopp or Guardiola, but they're a dangerous side. You know, really, I mean, really strong in attack. You know, Fernandes, Pogba, good players.
Yeah.
And we have a better manager. We have a better team. I don't sound negative here, you know, but like it's hard not to, because they keep getting these spawny 1-0 wins. You know, they've got a striker who's feeding half of the UK whilst also being dead good at football. They got Fernandes, and every week we have a different episode of who's playing, you know, right-sided centre back, and it's hard not to go into it with a little bit of trepidation. At the same time, the opportunity that is there, though, that gets presented here is by beating them, and we have more than enough to beat them, then it just re-establishes the equilibrium a little bit and gives us something to kick on to. But we need to go beat them.
Yeah, we absolutely do. It's Thiago's Anfield debut, which is mad that it's taken this long, which is a good thing. Also, as well, it will be Klopp's 200th game as Liverpool manager. 99 of them have been at Anfield. How many do you reckon he's lost?
2.
4.
4.
It's still good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still good. I thought he was better than that.
I mean,
Klopp out.
It's 67 unbeaten now at Anfield. I think we've scored in the last 42. I get where you're coming from about the recent games, but I would also say, even in this weirdest of weird seasons, and Klopp was just talking a bit about that, by the way, saying about what they're like behind the scenes around COVID. And that was quite interesting. I thought he said, like, we don't get together in the canteen's shut. We're not in a secret room having a little party. We're sticking to the rules. We're distanced in the changing rooms. We can't get together like ordinarily we would. And it's another little thing where you just think that makes it weird for everyone, doesn't it, compared to normal. But even in all this weirdness, they played well against Man City. They were unlucky to not get 3 points against Everton. They played well against Chelsea. They played well against Arsenal. You know, when it's been a big game, they battered Wolves at home, which was, you know, the first time fans were back in. I know what you're saying about the recent problems and about
Leicester
in front to goal. Leicester's another one. I just think on the big occasion, though, they're still pulling something out the bag, and that's what's keeping me going about Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the big occasion and the style of play of those teams, right? I think we've suffered recently against teams playing a low block against us, and I think, you know, you read everything that the United players are saying, and that their, you know, fans and their ex-players are saying, and it seems like they're going to come and have a go, right? Which is great, because I think that gives us space, and you know, that you know, plays into our hands a bit. So I just, more than any game that I can think of in the last couple of years, and this is why I'm nervous, is I want to win this game so badly.
Yeah.
So badly. Because also the other thing here is that I mean, okay, there isn't any fans, but this is the first time United have come to Anfield where we're the league champions. Right? This is the first time since that happened. And the headline at the end of that should still be about us being the better team, you know, putting them to the sword, and you know, starting a march to try and win this again. So I don't want on Sunday night to be thinking that was something that happened last year and we're fucked now.
Well, it is 8 years since Manchester United came to Anfield as leaders. It is 5 years since Manchester United have even won at Anfield. I get some of your nerves, Martin, but if we all need a pep talk, who's watching this, including yourself maybe, Martin, but we've got one. So we're going to stick in the middle here, a pep talk from Neil Atkinson. He wants you all to get going. He wants you all to get up for this one. And he's also got, and he's, you know what his mind's like and how his mind works. He can reel off all the fixtures into the future, and he's about to do that and tell you why they're all dead important and why over the next month or so, we will find out what Liverpool are really all about. Here's Neil.
It starts now. There are massive games on the horizon. Manchester United at home, followed by Burnley. Then you've got Manchester United away. Then to come West Ham and Tottenham away from home. They're coming up for the Reds. It's Brighton at home, then it's Manchester City at home, then it's Leipzig, and then Everton on the horizon as well. And there's a game against Leicester in there. It's a massive 30 days for Liverpool Football Club. A massive 30 days that will define the season, and it starts this weekend against Manchester United. Liverpool have had a lot of adversity to deal with this season. They've had a lot to come up against, but they still find themselves where one win on Sunday against Manchester United puts them back top of the pops and puts Manchester United back into Manchester United's box. That'd be a fabulous thing to see and a fabulous thing to enjoy. We know the season's been hard. There's been so much adversity for the mighty boys in red, but also for all of us all over the globe, wherever we are. We've had so much to deal with. It's been so hard to enjoy ourselves with this circumstance going on around us. It's been hard to enjoy being champions, if we're all honest and frank about it. And yet we are champions. We were the best team in England last season, and we were an incredible force the season before that as well, winning the European Cup. This is a great Liverpool side. It still remains one, and it's one that can take it to Manchester United this weekend, start this run of games off on the front foot, and absolutely lay a marker down. Liverpool aren't going anywhere. The Anfield Wrap isn't going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. We've got the best audio, the best video, and the best writing about the mighty boys in red before every game, after every game, and at times through the hot mic during every game. Come and join us for the rest of the season. We can all still make the very, very best of this, along with the Liverpool side who'll be looking to do the same. There is adversity, yes. Times are hard, yes. But we've only got one another throughout all of this, and there's a league to be won.
If that hasn't got you pumped, nothing will. Back to me and Martin then, and I wanted to get you on this.
I'm pumped.
Is right. I'm interested in your take on this because you did used to do a fair bit of writing for the site, and I used to enjoy it, and you were never scared to sort of go somewhere with it, even if it was sort of against the grain a little bit, which is what I often enjoyed about your writing. And I had a bit of a debate, and many other Reds were joining in. I didn't cause it or anything like that. I don't know where it's come from. But yesterday, someone somewhere has put forward the idea, and I think just online, about we should show some respect towards Marcus Rashford for what he's done. You mentioned before, he's literally fed the world, it feels like. He's certainly fed a lot of people in this city who need, or helped to feed a lot of people in this city who needed that helping hand. It times very much with a lot of the values of this city, a lot of the values of this club, of the support, everything else. The debate was, could we put something from the fans, not from the club, on the cop, respecting that, basically? My argument was very much yes. And I went to town on it last night, me and Craig Hannon. Craig Hannon had the opposite view. I think there's arguments on both sides to sort of get the tub thumping, the mank bastards he plays for them and all that. But I just think, Martin, I don't know what you think, but I think there's someone clever enough in our support who can make flags, who can make something that strikes the balance. Something along the lines of, Marcus, we're with you off the pitch, but we're not with you on it, or, whatever it may be, that kind of message. Because what he's done, and Klopp talked about in his press conference today, is absolutely brilliant, isn't it, mate?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, you can certainly do both, right? I think that there can't be anyone out there that hasn't been impressed by the campaign that he has waged and the relentlessness of that campaign, right? Not just to start it off, but to then say, you know what, you're not doing good enough in terms of the food. There's a bit where Boris Johnson stood up in the House of Commons this week and said that he was doing a better job than anyone of holding the government to account. He's a young footballer. Yeah. And there are people, families, children across this country that have been fed and have benefited from what Marcus Rashford has done. And I don't care how much you hate United, I don't care how much you love Liverpool, you have to put that to one side and you have to recognise that. And I think from our point of view, I think that it would be a good thing to recognise that, because that also shows what we're about, which is that there are things that are more important, and we are big enough as a club to recognise, what you have done. In the same way that many, many other clubs have joined together in support of causes which Liverpool have, tried to put forward. And I know that, I have stood in many away ends and been very grateful for that support that other clubs have shown down the years for causes associated to Liverpool. So should the club do something about that? Is there something that can be done about that? Absolutely. I honestly don't. I wouldn't know what the argument is against that. Do we want to beat them 5-0 after that?
Yeah.
And they're two separate things. There's the recognition for what, and you can show that recognition. He can then dive for a penalty, because there's a lot of stuff in the press today about how, Jose taught them how to get penalties. He can dive for a penalty, win a penalty, convert the penalty, and we can sit there and be angry about that. You can separate those things. And you should separate those things. I'm all in favour of, what takes place on the pitch takes place on the pitch, and I've got mates that are United fans, I've got mates that are Everton fans, and it's like, you don't need to take it to the nth degree all the time. And for what he's done, it's astonishing, really, and I would be proud of Liverpool if they recognise that.
Yeah, I mean, the latest on it, like Paul Gorst has written something this morning just saying, like, there's obviously this debate has been going on online. He said there's not been any official requests to the club or anything like that for one to be put out before the game. So I just think it literally is a debate, and it is an interesting one, which is why I brought it up. I think what's also interesting about it, though, is people were saying things like, well, it shouldn't be on the cop because, the cops are supporting, the cops are most rabid support and things like that. Again, I get that. But equally, I would say that's why you do it, because that's why it's so powerful, because it's something out the ordinary, what he's done. And if we put something showing respect for that on the cop, that would be out the ordinary too. That would create debate, that would create headlines, and it would just further the cause. And the cause is feeding people who are in poverty, not Liverpool, not Manchester United, something above all that. Yeah,
I honestly don't know. I mean, I'm not on social media really anymore, so I wouldn't know what the other side of the argument to this is.
Well, the other one, mate, and again, this is an area where I think, look, a lot of people would probably not want to venture, and maybe some people on the Anfield Wrap wouldn't want me to venture there. But when I was talking about it last night as well, another thing that came back was, he's done exclusives with the Sun. Now, there is a boycott of the Sun in Liverpool for good reason, and it will forever be the case. And I'm right behind that idea. But the idea that we vilify a lad who's 23 years old, who's from Manchester, for that. And by the way, when I said, well, I haven't seen it, I don't read the thing, I don't follow the Sun online, I don't know about it. So I got sent a screenshot, and the piece was about something else he was doing in the community. And I said, well, looking at it, taking the Liverpool hat off for a moment, I would look at it and I would say his team behind him have probably said, here's an opportunity to go to what is unfortunately one of the best-selling newspapers in the country and get a message across about what you're doing, and maybe make people think. That's why he's done it. He's not done it to disrespect Hillsborough, which he likely doesn't even know about. He'll know what it is. Will he know all the history in the way we do? Is it ingrained in him the way it is with us? No, I very much doubt it. To put that into context, by the way, I know for a fact that, I'm not sure whether I'm meant to mention this or not, so I won't go into too much detail, but I know for a fact that even players at Liverpool, haven't particularly known the history of it all in the past. And why would they? And what Liverpool have done, which I think is good, is as part of, they've educated them on it. They brought people in and said, speak to the players about it, about what it means, about why it is ingrained in the club. But it was 1989. And Marcus Rashford, I think, is born in 1998 or something like that. I just think it feels a bit cancel culture to me. Like, let's dig for something to get at a lad who is clearly sound.
Yeah, and look, I think, when Liverpool have been educating people about Hillsborough, not just their players, but at times it felt like the entire country. They asked for the support from the football community, for that. It was very much, this could have been you, there shouldn't be a situation where any fan should never come back from a game. And by and large, there've been tiny exceptions, of course, but by and large, that support came back from the football community, certainly over time, and we were really grateful for that. And I think, again, you can separate out the issues. There should be a banner, or there should be something that acknowledges what Marcus Rashford has done, because what he's done has been amazing. There should also be a banner that says you shouldn't buy the Sun. They're separate issues, and I have to say that those kids that are being fed and the help that those families are getting, I don't think they're thinking about all of these issues. I just think they're grateful to be fed, and I think it would be hard to get this done. Would it be harder to get it done if there were fans in the ground? I think there aren't fans in the ground. I don't know what the barometer of support on this is or not, but I think it's about the club showing leadership, and it's recognising that someone has done something which is unequivocally a good thing to have done. Unequivocally. No one can, no matter what Marcus Rashford does for the rest of his life, people have to look at that and go, fair play to him. That was, for any man of that age to have taken that stand is incredible. So he should get a clap for that. He should get recognition for that.
I'd like to think he would have done as well had we been in the ground, and I certainly for one would have clapped him. And then as soon as the whistle's blown, then I'd be like, get into him. He's dived there, ref. You know, mank bastard, whatever you want, all of that. But you know, this is another thing, and like
you can separate the two things. You can say, you know, you can applaud him for those efforts. You can and all of that stuff. Of course you can, but fucking hell, it doesn't mean I don't. You know, when it comes to the game, well, that's what it is. It's a game, and I want to win, and I want Marcus Rashford to not have a touch, and I want him to go home miserable. That you know, we've, you know, gone back to the top of the league. But I don't know how you can't. To me, it's a very easy thing to separate, like when you have minute silences and all sorts of other things like that. It's that you just separate these issues. You don't you know, cheer through a minute silence because a certain player played for someone else. It's like we have to be above that. And I don't know what other clubs have done in regard to this when Marcus Rashford has visited their clubs. We have a lot of banners on the Kop. I think what a great message it would be for that club's biggest rivals to dedicate a little, you know, banner on the Kop to show support what he has done. I think if I was, you've got me pumped up now. If I was working at Liverpool, I would be insisting on this.
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you, mate, and I'm glad we got to talk about it. Like I say, it has been a debate overnight and stuff.
Well done for feeding loads of kids. Don't die if you can't. Something like that.
Yeah, that'd do it. To be honest,
this is why I'm not working at Liverpool, because you know I've got pumped up. I've gone in there with a message for the banner, and I've ruined it. Thanks for everything you've done. Don't die if you can't. It's not going to work, is it? Keep it separate. Keep it separate.
Absolutely. On being better, being sound, and being above it. By the way, just before we go, I would like to say that can we all be sound, be better, and be above it, and not reference Munich, and not expect them to go on about Hillsborough. This tragedy tennis that goes on between certain sections of these two clubs is absolutely grim. Those two tragedies continue to affect people who are kicking around today, families of people who lost people, etc., etc. Just have a big think. I think if there's one thing that should come out of COVID and everything else, is that if we all just commit to a charter of being a bit more sound, be sound about this. You can hate the Manx, you can rip the Manx, you can want to batter them 10-0, and you can also not be a tool.
And you know, what a perfect opportunity to set the tone, right? You know, for that, where you now have this player coming to the ground that has done something which is unequivocally positive. Why don't we set the tone by just supporting that, right? And if that was our player and he went to Old Trafford and they did something like that, we would go fair play. And if that takes some of the toxicity around this fixture out of it, then that's got to be a good thing as well. It's got to be another positive of why you should do this, because we've all stood, you know, I've been in Old Trafford and seen some horrible things and you know, heard some horrible things, and I'm sure United fans have heard horrible things from Liverpool fans as well. It's never been acceptable. Never, no matter how passionate you are about the game and how much you want to win, is never, ever going to be acceptable. And the people that do those things are not going to be listening to me now going, oh, he's got a point. But what you have to do is you have to set a tone that it's so unacceptable that people don't even think about doing it. And I think part of that is you can make a start on that on Sunday. Yeah,
it helps with the name.
Up the Reds.
It helps with the name of the city. It helps with the name of the club. It helps with our reputation, and it is part of the charter of being sound. Martin, thank you very much. Let's hope we win,
problem.
And then all our nerves will be back where they should be, and the Reds will be back where they should be. And by the way, if you want more on the game, we've done absolutely loads of preview stuff. We've done podcasts, we've done videos. There'll be stuff on the website as well, the AnfieldWrap.com. So check all of that out. Up the Reds. That's been Talking Reds.